Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Dustin Sternbeck, the Master of Ceremony.
First, in COVID days, Brandon Mahoney, you've lost your COVID vaccination card. So, Brandon Mahoney, I have your vaccination card up here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a tremendous honor to welcome you to the Metropolitan Police Department's 21st Annual Awards Ceremony. This evening's program is an opportunity to recognize your 2020 accomplishments, a chance to celebrate your resiliency, and reflect upon your commitment to our community and nation. Shortly, we will acknowledge individuals for their respective contributions. But tonight, we also pause to admire all of law enforcement following such a tumultuous period for this sacred profession. I'm proud to call each of you colleagues and have had a front row seat to your incredible acts of compassion and valor. Valor is defined as showing great courage in the face of danger, and there's no better illustration of this than what the world witnessed from our members throughout the global health pandemic, ongoing civil unrest, and insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The horrific images from this past year will be etched into memory, but so too will be the heroic acts of bravery and perseverance of the Metropolitan Police Department. These events precipitated an equally unprecedented response. Without hesitation, you responded. You did not retreat, and though exhausted, you were determined. Without reluctance, you upheld your oath to protect and serve, all in the face of adverse circumstances. As forces attempted to divide our country, you provided unity and reassurance. And I believe you deserve credit for shifting national sentiment towards policing and demonstrating to the nation and world that we are the standard for professional law enforcement. Collectively, we have a tremendous obligation to our district communities, and we will continue to offer direction, stability, and solutions. Beyond the significant events of the past year, your daily interactions have been poignant and powerful and do not go unnoticed. These are the exchanges that really distinguish us as the premier law enforcement agency. Congratulations to our award recipients, but also a sincere thank you to everyone. We know that the difficulties of the past 18 months have invoked different emotions in each of us. And at moments during the evening, we understand if some of you will want to take a break from the presentation. Directly outside the ballroom doors and to the right, in room 304, is a wellness resource room. This space has been set up for you to take a moment for yourself and has information regarding our EAP and other available resources. Enjoy the evening, and may you all have safe, impactful careers with the best police department across the globe. Without further ado, our official ceremony will now begin. Please stand for the presentation of colors by the Metropolitan Police Department Honor Guard and MPD Pipes and Drums, followed by the singing of our national anthem by Officer Christina Laurie.
by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing for the invocation delivered this evening by Monsignor Salvatore Criscuolo.
Let us now bow our heads in prayer. God our Father, we give thanks for this evening, for this 21st annual award ceremony, honoring our officers of the Metropolitan Police Department, the professional staff, our community partners, and family members. Lord, we give thanks for the calling that you have given to all those who will be receiving awards this evening. We ask your constant care and protection upon all of our officers. Lord, we pray that you guide them every day, and we pray that they return home safely to their loved ones. We give thanks for those who are receiving awards, and we give a special thanks for the family members who are here this evening, for the many sacrifices you make so that your loved ones can protect and keep all of us safe. We make this prayer tonight, as we do always, as your loyal and faithful servants call upon to do your will. And we ask your blessings upon this food we're about to receive. In his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Monsignor Sal. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Deputy Mayor of the District of Columbia, the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, Christopher Geldhart. You may be seated.
Thank you, Dustin. I didn't want to have to tell everybody to take a seat. Good evening, Chief. Former chiefs that are here, good evening. Thank you for being able to be here with us. It's great to see you all here in the city again. We have our United States Attorney with us, some of our federal law enforcement partners with us, distinguished guests, families, and the Corps of the Metropolitan Police Department. Good evening to all of you. You know, I was putting together what I was going to say tonight when I was at home, and I was talking to my wife about that, and she said, well, you know, you should probably be yourself. She said, you know, be a little bit funny. She said, not too funny. She said, make sure you're intelligent in the remarks that you give. She said, and be sincere in what you say. And she said, on second thought, don't be anything like yourself. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of all of that tonight for folks here, and say that I've had the honor and privilege of serving with, watching, being side by side the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department now for over 9 years in this city. And especially over the last 2 years, and 2020 in particular, seeing the events that happened down on 16th Street and 8th Street, now known as Black Lives Matter Plaza. The courage, the sacrifice that our Metropolitan Police Department officers showed down there. And when I say the courage and the sacrifice, the courage because that was some rough times down there. You didn't know who was out in front of you at what time and when. And the sacrifice because many of us were feeling the same thing that some of the folks that were out there were saying. But we wanted to do it peacefully. Bring that forward to January 6th and everything that happened on that day, and I'll say that tonight is a night for you all, the brothers and sisters of the Metropolitan Police Department, to look back, reflect, be honored, because that's what it's about here, is to honor you and that sacrifice. Celebrate with your families, and families, I do want to say thank you all for everything that you give every day for your family to be here with us. To reflect on that, but most importantly, the thing that I saw, especially on January 6th, was, yes, there was a call to go to the Capitol. But I'll bet you if we did a show of hands in here of who was ordered to go to the Capitol, it wouldn't be half the people in here. The other half went because their brothers and sisters were there. And they knew what was going on with their brothers and sisters. And they had to be there. I've talked to several officers on the force, and they said I wouldn't be anyplace else but there with my brothers and sisters as we're going through what we went through on that day. And as we watched what happened that day, and I watched with the chief back at MPD headquarters, the things that were going on, listening to the radio, making sure we're getting the stuff that's needed out there to the scene. And I'm talking with Jeff Carroll, who I said, we're going to be back secure by 8 o'clock, right? 8 o'clock, right, Jeff? 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock. But in all seriousness, hearing through the radio channel the sacrifices and the calls for help and the calls for service, everything that was going on out there throughout the day, and every person that's in here that was there that day should be proud of themselves. The person sitting to the right and to the left of you, because you showed up when called. You showed up even though you weren't called, for your brothers, your sisters, your city, and your country. And for that, I want to say thank you. So tonight is a celebration for you. A lot of awards will be given out tonight, but I know, and those of us that have been in the situations know, that there is no real award that you need to receive, because if tomorrow it happened again, you would show up and you would be there standing next to your brother and your sister. And I look forward to being there with you from this day until that. Congratulations and have a good evening.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And now, please welcome to the stage the President of the United States' Homeland Security Advisor, Elizabeth Sherwood Randall.
Good evening, Chief Conti, and all the assembled members of the Metropolitan Police Department and your families, and especially your children. I see so many out tonight. I'm truly honored to be here to represent President Biden at this incredibly meaningful, first of its kind event, because I understand that this award ceremony has never taken place on this scale before. And we're here to honor and celebrate those members of the MPD and your families for all that you do every day and every night to secure our great nation's capital. I am Liz Sherwood Randall. I am the President's Homeland Security Advisor. I've worked on and off for him since I was 26 years old, and it's my great privilege to be with you this evening. Given my responsibilities, I'm vividly aware of the critical work that you and your colleagues undertake 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, on behalf of the American people. While the ranks of the MPD demonstrate bravery and courage and strength and dedication every year, this has been a year like no other in our history. And for the Metropolitan Police Department family, a year like no other in your history. What the MPD, alongside other law enforcement colleagues, experienced on January 6th was beyond any of our imaginations. Yet you stepped forward and you answered the call when our nation needed you most. Nearly 900 men and women of the MPD responded to urgent requests for support from the U.S. Capitol Police, and your heroism enabled them to prevail and ensure that our democracy prevailed. As Chief Conti so eloquently said following the events of January 6th, after he'd been on the job just a few days, words that still resonate with me all these months later. This was neither a peaceful protest nor a pure exercise of First Amendment rights, rights that we fiercely protect. This was instead an assault on our democracy, and MPD officers held the line. I've learned throughout my career that in a crisis there is also an opportunity. And from the first days of this administration, we have focused on how to address the growing challenge presented by domestic terrorism. As soon as we came into office on January 20th, the President charged his national security team with initiating a comprehensive review of how the U.S. government deals with this threat, a threat not just to public safety and national security, but to democratic integrity. And the very notion that we as Americans set the standard in the world by resolving our differences peacefully and according to the law. This review led to our release in June of the first ever national strategy for countering domestic terrorism, and we're working hard to implement that strategy. Another immediate response to what you and your colleagues faced on January 6th has been an extensive effort to augment coordination of National Capital Region security. We have worked with law enforcement partners who contribute to security in this vital, complicated seat of our federal government to ensure that, as we face these growing threats and challenges, our lines of communication and our mechanisms for collaboration are clear and strong, especially in a crisis. We're exercising all of this to make sure we are prepared for whatever may arise in the weeks and months and years to come. And on behalf of the administration, I especially want to thank Chief Carroll and Commander Glover for your leadership and partnership in building a stronger Washington. I emphasize this work that we have done on domestic terrorism and on National Capital Region security to convey to all of you what's really a simple point. We feel the same sense of urgency that you do to protect and defend our nation's capital, including all of the essential functions of our government that occur here. The task you face in securing this magnificent and complex city is an enormous one, but it's a task that you don't face alone. The White House, the administration, the federal government, we are your partners, and we're working alongside you to build on the strength you show in the line of duty, each day, every day, and all through the night. To be honest, it's a humbling experience for me to stand before you today, and all I can do is express my deep gratitude. Thank you for your service on January 6th, and thank you for all that you've done leading up to that day and every day thereafter to serve our great city and our nation. And it's now my honor to read a message to you from President Biden. October 18th, 2021. On January 6th, 2021, the capital of the United States of America, the citadel of our democracy, was stormed by a mob of violent extremists. Their attack on the sacred ritual in which we certify a fair and free election took lives, destroyed property, saddened our nation, and shocked the world. Our democracy withstood the existential threat that it faced that day. And for that, we owe a deep debt of gratitude to the heroic efforts of the women and men of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, the United States Capitol Police, and other brave law enforcement officials. But that heroism came at a cost. Today, we honor the 150 officers who were injured and the 5 officers who were lost in the attack's aftermath. Their bravery will never be forgotten. Earlier this year, I was proud to sign the law awarding the Congressional Gold Medal, Congress's highest expression of national appreciation, to those law enforcement officials who responded to the attack. The Metropolitan Police Department officers who put themselves in harm's way that day represent the best of our nation. You protected our Capitol and our Constitution. You saved lives and secured our democracy. I know that the experience continues to weigh heavily on many of you, both professionally and personally. Thank you for everything you did that day and for the strength and perseverance that you have shown in the days since. As president, I am committed to doing everything I can to continue supporting the women and men of law enforcement who protect us and to combat the hate and extremism that led to this violent and deadly assault. Jill and I continue to pray for your peace and safety. May God protect you and all those who serve watch over our democracy. President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. And I've given the letter to Chief Conti so that he can keep it here in your police headquarters. Thank you, and again, I'm grateful to be with you this evening.
Thank you, Liz. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department. Please provide him a much-deserving welcome to the podium. Our Chief, Chief Robert J. Conti III.
Good evening, Metropolitan Police Department family. Good evening. I wish you guys could see what I see standing up here. Wow. Talk about excellence being transferable. Look at this, man. Can you recall an annual awards for the Metropolitan Police Department like this? Give yourselves a hand. Thank you. Good evening to our MPD family, friends, and invited guests. Welcome. It is an honor and privilege to be here in the presence of so many heroes. Tonight is about you and your families, the sacrifices you've made, the colleagues we have lost, and the things we have endured as law enforcement professionals over the last year and a half. I want to acknowledge our mayor and deputy mayor for supporting this awards ceremony. Let's give them a round of applause. I remember a time not long ago when we would be in a much smaller room and the food would not be as good. But I want to publicly thank them. This started as a vision really to honor our heroes, and what I described to our team has become a reality as we recognize the men and women of the best police department in the country. This occasion is momentous. I have asked a few special guests to come to bear witness to the great legacy they left behind. I stand on the shoulders of the great chiefs that led this agency through the good and not so good days. It is because of them and the work of so many of you in this room, we are here, that we are held in such high regard by law enforcement agencies all around the country. Most of them are here with us tonight and have come to celebrate you. Chief Maurice Cullinane could not be here with us tonight. He will be turning 89 years old next month, but he is tuning in virtually. So let's give Chief Maurice Cullinane a round of applause. Also here with us tonight, former Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Sonia Proctor. Please just wave and acknowledge her. Retired Chief Fred Thomas, here with us tonight. Chief Peter Newsham, here with us tonight. Last but certainly not least, my friend and mentor, Charles H. Ramsey. Let's give him a round of applause. When Chief Ramsey was sworn in as the chief of the Metropolitan Police Department in 1998, we were having some really dark days here in the Metropolitan Police Department. Talk about not being able to afford a banquet. We could barely afford training, brakes for cars, tires for cars, uniforms, our facilities. Well, you know. We still got some things we're working on. But things were, quite frankly, a mess. His experience, his insight, his passion, and his genuine love for the profession has served MPD well. In fact, the previous two chiefs and I sharpened our skills and honed our craft under his leadership. It is the reason I have requested his presence tonight to bring our keynote address. I want everyone to enjoy this moment and reflect on our collective contributions to communities we serve selflessly, day in and day out. When you leave this place, I want you to know that you are all living heroes and so deserving of tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our former Chief of Police, Charles H. Ramsey, to the stage.
Well, good evening. And thank you, Chief Conte. I like the sound of that. Huh? Let me acknowledge Mayor Bowser, who's with us there today. And Mayor. Now, the chief has already mentioned all the former chiefs that are in the room, and I don't want to repeat that because you know what it's like. When you start naming names, you will forget somebody, and you wind up later on wishing that, you had written down some notes or something. But in any event, I want to welcome all of the former chiefs that are here today, as well as current chiefs that are with us. But most of all, I want to really recognize the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department and their families. You know, the greatest honor I had during my time as a police chief was serving here in Washington, D.C., in the Metropolitan Police Department. Nothing even comes close. You know, these are some very, very challenging times that we find ourselves in today. You know, we've got protests that have taken place, some of which resulted in civil unrest. We have issues involving violent crime that's on the rise across the country. January 6th obviously was a wake-up call for all of us. And of course, all that is on the backdrop of COVID-19. I read an article today in the paper that COVID was responsible for more deaths of police officers than were shot and killed in the line of duty, 5 times more. That is something we all need to stop and think about, because that is something that is affecting all of us across the country. You know, I'm not going to pretend as if 2020 was an unusual year for everyone. I've not seen anything like it at all in my career. And I'm not going to stand here and pretend as if I know what you've gone through, because I don't. And unless you're serving now in our profession, there's no way you can imagine the trauma, the stress, and everything that you've gone through over the past couple of years. We've been struggling as a profession across the country with recruiting, with hiring, and retaining police officers. And I'm told the same thing applies here in D.C. You know, I've been through some very frustrating times. I've been through some times when you really start to kind of wonder, you know, why am I still doing this? Or, you know, what am I doing wrong? Is there something more I could be doing? And you kind of question yourself. And I'm sure there are people in this room right now that probably have gone through that. Not too long ago, probably. You know, the thing that's always kind of brought me back, though, is when I stop and think about why I became a cop to begin with. Now, that's going to vary from person to person. We all have different reasons why we join. Some join to help others, maybe to serve others. Some because it's a good paying job with benefits. Nothing wrong with that either. It's different from every one of us, but something drew us to the profession. And I think at times when it's very challenging and difficult, it's time for us to stop and reflect why we got into this to begin with. One thing that's always kind of brought me back is thinking about my very first day in the police academy. Now, granted, that was a long, long time ago. I joined the Chicago Police Department as a police cadet in 1968. And I remember that very first day, among all the other stuff that goes on your first day in the academy, they handed us a sheet of paper and they said, memorize this, because when you graduate 6 months from now, you're going to have to recite it. And on that piece of paper was the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. Now, I memorized it, I read it, memorized it, but I really didn't understand the meaning behind the words. I mean, I was 18 years old, you know, I was just kind of getting into it. Quite frankly, I wasn't even sure if I was doing the right thing to be a police officer or not at that particular point in time. But as the years went on, the more I thought about it, the more I began to really understand what that means. And if you bear with me for just a moment, the very first paragraph of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. As a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve the community, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful for violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all people, to liberty, equality, and justice. To me, that kind of summarizes what a police officer is all about. You protect those that cannot protect themselves. You respect the constitutional rights of all people. And whether you're pushing a scout car on a PSA, or you're working in a detective division, or you're working in an administrative capacity, whether you're part of the professional staff of the department or the sworn member of the department, it doesn't matter. You are serving, and there's things about the fact that you are able to serve that just strikes me, anyway, in a very, very special way. You know, when I think about January 6th, I think about another thing that you didn't have to memorize it, but you did have to repeat it, and that's your oath of office. Now, I've had the honor of serving in 3 different police departments in my career. But the one thing that's the same, and I would argue is the same in departments across the country, whether you're federal or whether you're local, and that is this part of the oath, and that is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, in 9/11, that was a wake-up call for all of us. I was here in Washington. Many of you were here in Washington on 9/11. And for the first time, at least in my life, in my career, the meaning of what it means to really protect this country against foreign threats really, really, really became something real for me. There was absolutely no question about it. And I'm very proud of how we responded to that. But that was certainly a wake-up call. But now, let's think about January 6th. I don't know about you, and I was seeing this from a distance. I mean, I'm in Philadelphia, I'm at home, I'm watching it on TV, and I was in utter disbelief in what I saw. And my first reaction, quite frankly, was pure anger. I was upset. There were words that went through my mind that I cannot repeat here today, because it was something that, to me, really kind of got at the heart of what we're all about as Americans, and I just could not really get my head around it. But then I watched very closely as I saw members of the U.S. Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police fighting in the crowd. Fighting in the crowd. Now, I've been through a few skirmishes in my life, but they usually didn't last more than 2-3 minutes. You guys were fighting for hours. Hours. And I thought about that. I thought about the courage, because I learned later on that not all of you were all formed up in platoons. I mean, many of you self-responded when you saw what was going on. And I thought about the courage. I thought about what it took to stand there and fight against tremendous, overwhelming odds, watching your fellow officers fall injured, and the kind of what that really took as a person and as a police officer to really do that. And when I thought about it, I went from anger and I started to feel pride. I started to feel pride in the men and women of this department and the sacrifices you all made to be there. And why were you there? You were there in defense of our democracy. That's what you were there for. Now, granted, insurrectionists were able to breach the Capitol, get inside, but you gave enough time for the Capitol Police to safely extract members of Congress and get them in a safe place. You were there to clear the Capitol, so later on that night, they were able to return to their chambers, and they were able to perform one of the most sacred duties they have as elected officials, and that is to certify the election for the 46th President of the United States. You did that. You made that possible. Then I think about in this line of work, you don't get much time to catch your breath, that's for sure, because 2 weeks later, you had an inauguration. And people forget about that, in a way. You had an inauguration. The whole world was watching, because the hallmark of the United States, the democracy here in this country, is the peaceful transfer of power. You made that happen. You did. No one else. You made sure that that happened. You know, there's a metaphor in policing, and that is that, you know, police are a thin blue line. Thin blue line that stands between good and evil, I suppose. I never really gave it a whole lot of thought. I don't buy into that anymore, and I haven't ever since I went to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in 1998. It made me start to see the role of police differently. And I don't see us as a line. I see police really as a thread that's woven throughout the communities we serve, a thread that actually helps hold together the very fabric of democracy. On January 6th, you were that thread, fragile and thin, but you held together the fabric of democracy. You did. Many of you are still going through the trauma associated with January 6th, and that's natural, that's normal, and I'm sure that you're receiving the support that you need to have in order to continue on. I hope that over time, that trauma starts to kind of subside a little bit, and you start to really remember and think about what you did. History will record this. You are part of that history. You literally saved our democracy. And I'm not overstating that. I'm really not. But it's not just what you did on January 6th. You save our democracy every single time you put on that uniform and every single time you go out there to serve the public. Every single time you put your lives on the line for total strangers. What you're doing is you're making our democracy safe for everybody. Now that takes a special breed of people, folks. That's not for everybody. There's no question about it. But you You are the people that do that day in and day out, and you make a difference. You make one hell of a difference. You know, I've been in this business a very long time, 47 years of active service. It doesn't feel like it, but that's a while. And I remember when I retired, really retired this time, from Philadelphia, I had a reporter that wanted to interview me. And so we sat down, and he's asking a lot of questions about my career, about my time in Chicago and D.C. and Philadelphia. And then it got toward the end, and he said, well, now, Commissioner, he said, I have to ask you this question. Do you have any regrets? And I said, yeah, I got one. And that is that I can't do it all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been blessed because I've spent the better part of my life walking amongst heroes, shoulder to shoulder. I know what policing is all about. Not from the televisions, not from viral videos and all the stuff that we got going on now. I know what policing is all about and what policing stands for. And if there's ever a doubt, all you have to do is think about what you've done. Think about the difference you're making in the lives of others. That is really what policing is all about, and you represent that. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you here this evening. I can't tell you how good it is to see many of the old familiar faces and many of the new faces here this evening. And again, Chief, thank you so much for giving me a call and asking me to come down here this evening. I love each and every one of you. And just one last thing, because I get asked this all the time. Compare the 3 departments that you worked in, right? There is no comparison for Washington, D.C., period. God bless you. Stay safe.
It is now my distinct honor to introduce the Mayor of the District of Columbia, the Honorable Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much, and I am just thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to see this room full of people, to see people face to face, and to thank you for your incredible service. Chief Contee, former chiefs, my executive team, see our United States Attorney, and everyone who's supporting public safety in the District of Columbia, I'm here to say thank you. I am so glad that Chief Contee brought us all together. We've been through a lot together over the last year. It's been said and perhaps oversaid that the last 19 months are unprecedented. And there are a lot of reasons that 2020 was a challenging year. We, of course, faced the global pandemic, civil unrest, a financial crisis, a rise in gun violence, the defund movement, and all the trauma that it has brought our communities, and all of the challenges it has brought to our work. But through it all, And at every stage of the pandemic, the women and men of the Metropolitan Police Department showed up. You showed up each day, no matter what was happening in our city. You showed up in person to protect the safety and health and well-being of Washingtonians and the millions of visitors who come to us each year. You've done everything that I've asked. Now, in managing and getting through this pandemic, a lot of people have been able to stay safe and stay home. But that's not the case for our first responders. And I just want to say I recognize the risk that you took and the risks that you presented to your own families to show up and do your jobs each and every day. And I want to give you my heartfelt thanks. You heard Chief Ramsey recall his feeling on January the 6th and that feeling of anger, and I think we all shared that. Shocked that our fellow Americans, any of them, could threaten our Capitol, could threaten our lawmakers, and threaten our democracy. One of my proudest moments was when we were all together in the JOC and all working with our federal partners to make sure people were safe, was standing and watching these yellow jackets appear on the balcony of the Capitol. And then they just kept coming, these yellow jackets appearing. And then we saw order being restored. And those yellow jackets were the members of the Metropolitan Police Department coming to assist the United States Capitol Police. We worked together, and that was a wonderful feeling. We know the significant job we have policing the capital of the United States, but we want to make sure that everybody knows, too, that our most significant responsibility is the beautiful neighborhoods that make up Washington, D.C., and the 700,000 people who live here. What I know as a person who's born and raised here, and I've had just about every political job in the District of Columbia, is that Washingtonians love their police department. Washingtonians want safety. They want to know that their children have safe passages, that trips to the grocery store will end with groceries being delivered to the table. And that's why they are holding each and every one of us accountable for making sure that we deliver on exactly that. And the way that we do it is by being committed to our professional police department, being committed to the police commanders who make plans for safety in our neighborhoods each and every day. We know that the nation has seen a rise in gun violence over the last year, and we're not immune here in Washington. So reflecting on the tumultuous year that we've had and all that we've been called to do is also the time for us to make sure that we've reset our plans, make sure that we've reversed the defunding of our department. And I'm proud to say this year, after a year of not being able to hire, the chief will be able to hire 200 officers, which is going to allow us to get back to where we need to be. But I know you'll be with me, because we need 200 this year. We're going to need 200 plus next year. Are you going to be with me on that? I need you to be with me on that. We also have to make sure we're looking very carefully at our laws. What we know, and what every Washingtonian or every person who comes to work here, every visitor who comes to work here, wants to know that the laws that we have on the books will be followed, enforced. And we have to hold people accountable who don't mean right by our neighborhoods and our people. And so we will look closely at our laws to make sure that they're going to discourage crime and penalize criminals so that we can keep our neighborhoods safe. Now, are you going to be with me on that? Because what I know here, Chief, is that we're celebrating the good work of the Metropolitan Police Department. And one thing that we owe you is to make sure that we're giving you the resources, the training that you need to do your jobs, but also making sure that the whole system is working to keep us safe. I can't tell you the number of times I go to a community meeting, and I know the chief hears this too. If something bad happens in the community, who do people call? They call 911, and they expect MPD to show up and take care of their neighborhoods and the problems at hand. So we're going to show up and be with you to make sure that you have the resources that you need and that the whole system is working to support public safety in Washington, D.C. Now, I agree with Chief Ramsey on another point. People ask me all the time, are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? I have the best job in Washington, D.C., being mayor of my hometown. And what makes it incredible are the 37,000 people who work for D.C. government who have shown up each and every day during this pandemic so we can crush this virus and bring our city back. Thank you, MPD, for all that you do.
The last 18 months have been filled with unprecedented societal shifts. Those shifts have impacted all of our MPD members, our family, friends, and the entire community. Please now direct your attention to the video screens while we take a look back at the accomplishments and memorable moments of the past year and a half.
Tried to cut these corners, tried to take the easy way out. I kept on falling short of something. I could have gave up then, but then again I couldn't have, 'cause I've traveled all this way for something. I take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Been waiting on this for a while now. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top.
Kicking off the awards presentations for Sworn Bureau Employees of the Year, please welcome to the stage the Assistant Chief of Patrol Services South, Andre Wright.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Time to get the party started. Put your chicken down. Get your cameras ready. 'Cause it's time to pay homage to our awardees for tonight. I don't want that soft clapping either. They earned this. You all earned this. So let's make sure we show them a lot of love, okay? All right. It is my honor to present the awards for Sworn Bureau Employees of the Year, whose tireless work ensured that the overall operations of MPD ran smoothly. To highlight some of the accomplishments in this group, we have a key member of MPD's Asian Liaison Unit who went above and beyond to conduct business checks on a daily basis and provided empathetic support and resources to victims. A Night Owl officer who ran the Command Information Center during a summer of unrest and provided detailed daily reports on behalf of the Joint Strategic and Tactical Analysis Command Center to executive staff members. A hard-working officer whose attention to detail and positive attitude was instrumental in designing and implementing new systems for the Internal Affairs Bureau. A captain whose leadership, dedication, and tireless work ethic helped the agency achieve outstanding closure rates. A sergeant who continuously put the community first through the coordination of over 70 community outreach events. An officer who took on a challenging new role and excelled in upholding MPD's crime-fighting mission through the pandemic. And a jack-of-all-trades officer who paid special attention and care to our members who were positive for COVID-19 during the course of the pandemic. Please join me in congratulating Executive Office of the Chief of Police Sworn Bureau Employee of the Year, Officer Michael Kim. Good job. Homeland Security Bureau Employee of the Year, Officer Stephen Hobbs. Good job. Internal Affairs Bureau Employee of the Year, Officer Abigail Diaz. Investigative Services Bureau Employee of the Year, Captain Daniel Godin. Patrol Services North Employee of the Year, Sergeant Tanisha Parker. Patrol Services South Employee of the Year, Sergeant Antonio McKnight. And Professional Development Bureau Employee of the Year, Officer Xavier Leak. Congratulations to you all on your well-deserved achievements. One more round of applause. Outstanding work.
Now, please welcome to the stage Assistant Chief of Patrol Services North, Stuart Emmerman, who will be presenting the Crime Reduction Award and announcing the Police Service Area of the Year.
Good evening, everyone. In 2020, members of our 2nd District were confronted with an unparalleled year. In addition to ongoing pandemic, 2D members faced the challenge of handling significant damage in their district when civil unrest occurred in May and June of 2020. Despite the hundreds of stores that were looted in this area, the 2nd District went on to make over 70 arrests throughout the course of the first weekend of riots that our city faced. 2020 did not slow down, but the 2nd District officers and supervisors continue to work hard, ultimately ending the year with a 33% reduction in violent crime, a 32% reduction in property crime, and a 32% reduction in overall crime. Due to the efforts of all of the members, the 2nd District has become a safer place for our community to reside and to visit. To honor this work, I now ask all 2D members in the audience to please stand, and I invite the 2nd District Commander, Duncan Bedlian, to the stage to accept the Crime Reduction Award on their behalf. Congratulations again to all the members of the 2nd District. This next award is being presented to a police service area who achieved an overall crime reduction of 6% in 2020. Over the course of the year, each member of PSA 403 demonstrated their outstanding commitment to public safety within every neighborhood in this police service area. From connecting with community members while patrolling on mountain bikes, to keeping the streets safe from individuals driving under the influence, the officers of PSA 403 went above and beyond to implement data-driven strategies and tactics that contributed to an overall crime reduction within the PSA. I now ask that all members of PSA that are in the audience with us tonight to please stand, and I invite Captain Matthew Fitzgerald to the stage to accept the Police Service Area of the Year Award on behalf of PSA 403. Thank you, everybody.
Please welcome back to the podium Chief Robert J. Conti III to present our first Chief of Police Special Award of the evening.
The Chief of Police Special Award is given to individuals who don't necessarily patrol the streets or wear an MPD badge. They are individuals who work behind the scenes, ensuring our city is protected for future generations. To kick off those we will be honoring with this award tonight, I would like to recognize Mr. Carlos Bright. Mr. Bright exemplifies what it means to be an involved citizen in his community and in his police district. He's known to personally reach out to our MPD members in the 4th District to check on their well-being and makes our agency aware of any issues within his neighborhood. His support and outreach to our team is always appreciated. I would like to invite Mr. Carlos Bright as I present him with the Chief of Police Special Award. Our second Chief of Police Special Award will be given to Pastor William Spence. Pastor Spence is a senior pastor at Harvest Life Fellowship Church here in the district and has worked with the Bread Coin Foundation for 4 years. He began working alongside our 5th District outreach team in April of 2020. And with his help and dedication, we have been able to host pop-up events and have fed more than 500 families in our community. With his open heart and desire to work alongside MPD, Pastor Spence has developed meaningful relationships with our residents and members of the Metropolitan Police Department. Our next Chief of Police Special Award of tonight goes to Pastor William Spence.
Presenting the District Detectives of the Year Awards. Please welcome to the stage Assistant Chief Leslie Parsons of the Investigative Services Bureau.
The Assistant Chief is handling another matter at this time. Presenting on his behalf is Commander John Haynes.
Good evening. The next group of awards and recipients embodies all the qualities of good detectives, to include good communication, detailed interview skills, and superb critical thinking. On a daily basis, these detectives work with the community to solve the worst crimes that occur across our city, help bring violent offenders to justice, support the recovery of victims, and protect witnesses that come forward to help our communities keep our communities safe. The dedication of these members is remarkable and valiant. Their roles are necessary and essential to this department in order for us to bring peace of mind to the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. Among those being honored for Detective of the Year include a driven 1st District detective whose ability to build strong rapport with his victims has led to his many case closures. An exceptional 2nd District detective whose strong work ethic and outstanding performance have helped MPD, along with neighboring jurisdictions, bring justice to the friends and families of crime victims. An ambitious 3rd District detective whose closes out some of the toughest cases while still finding time to mentor new investigators. A hard-working 4th District detective whose attention to detail and ability to think outside the box helped close several high-profile shootings, stabbings, and robbery cases. A committed 5th District detective whose eagerness to tenacity and professionalism allowed her to thoroughly investigate cases through to their ends. An effective 6th District detective who is always willing to assist with investigations and be an all-around team player. A dedicated 7th District detective with exceptional organizational skills, an eye for detail, and it is an instrumental asset in keeping 7D running smoothly. A compassionate youth division detective whose commitment to her duties has resulted in countless children being saved from abuse. And a well-respected homicide detective who maintained a 100% closure rate for all cases assigned to him in 2020. Please join me. It is my pleasure to honor 1st District Detective of the Year, Marcus Talley. Our 2nd District Detective of the Year, Jonathan Lauderdale. Our 3rd District Detective of the Year, Kimberly Mativier. Our 4th District Detective of the Year, Monica Augusti. Although she is unfortunately not able to be with us tonight, we would still like to recognize 5th District Detective of the Year, Cassandra Valdez. Our next detective is currently serving our country in the armed forces overseas and is unable to be here with us this evening. But tonight we thank him for his service to our country and our city. 6th District Detective of the Year, Giancarlo Perez. Also, unfortunately, tonight we were not able to join us is the 7th District Detective of the Year, Osbaldo Luna. Our Youth Division Detective of the Year, Karain William Thomas. Our Homicide Branch Detective of the Year, Thomas Roy. Great and admirable work has been done by these detectives in the Metropolitan Police Department. Thanks all of you for your service. Let's have one more round of applause for our District Detectives of the Year.
Now, Executive Assistant Chief Ashan Benedict, who will be presenting the Detective of the Year Award.
In 2020, then Detective Hassan Mufti became a key member of the Riot Task Force, a task force created in response to the destructive and violent riots that occurred last year. Throughout his assignment, he applied for and obtained several arrest warrants for suspects that he and his team identified as inciters of the terrible violence, to include burglaries, thefts, and assault on police officers. Detective Mufti was the lead detective assigned to investigate the burning of banners that were vandalized at historically black churches in Washington, D.C. Through his diligence and work alongside numerous local and federal agencies, he was able to identify and arrest the leader of an extremist group responsible for this disgraceful vandalism. I ask you to please direct your attention to the screens while we take a look at why he's so deserving of this award.
My name is Hassan Mufti. Currently, I'm serving as a sergeant in the 2nd District. Previously, I was assigned to Criminal Investigation Division as a detective, part of Riot Task Force. I was a detective in CID. I was a 3D detective. And when the protests started happening, the First Amendment assemblies, and when we saw an uptick in crime related to the First Amendment assemblies, a riot task force was assembled within CID. I was lucky enough to be part of that task force.
In 2020, Detective Mufti had several notable arrest warrants that he presented to the U.S. Attorney's Office. One of them was the case involving the Proud Boys, the leader of the Proud Boys. When he investigated that case, that was the case where the leader actually burned a flag in front of a church.
The leader of the Proud Boys was actually from out of state, so that also hindered my ability to actually to follow up on some of the stuff, because mainly our investigations are within DC or the DMV area. With the help of my officials and also the detectives I worked with, we were able to get his identification, develop probable cause, and review numerous videos, not only surveillance video, but also videos that were taken by other bystanders and also members of his group. We were able to successfully arrest him.
He did an excellent job dealing with what we were faced with both the pandemic as well as the riots. I think Hassan was one of those people that just definitely rose above, and despite any obstacles that we faced or setbacks that we had, to include, the dawning of mask of people, he never stood back, he never backed down to any challenge.
2020 was obviously, for a lot of us, it was out of ordinary. I haven't seen anything in my personal and professional life. I haven't seen a year like that. Personally, I would say I missed a lot of home time. There was a lot of mandatory overtimes, and we had to work. And obviously, it comes with the job, I understand.
We were somehow brought together, and we just worked very well. Everybody came to work ready to work. There was no complaining. A lot of times we stayed very late because the cases had to, go into late hours, or stuff came up, and maybe the commander at the time was asking us, hey, can you guys stay late? Whatever the case may be. But one thing about that unit, everybody was dedicated to coming in and doing the work. No complaining. Whoever kind of put us together and decided that made the right selection. And I would say that Mufti was very important in that because he's a hard worker, and people like that, they motivate other people.
The department has been really rewarding. I had great officials, and I'm looking forward to my next 17, 18 years to go.
Detective Mufti, congratulations on your 2020 Detective of the Year Award. It's well-deserved. The work you put in during the 2020 was exceptional, and thank you so much for what you did during that time.
Mufti, congratulations for earning Detective of the Year. I want to say thank you for the hard work that you have put forward. It was an honor and a pleasure working alongside of you during the investigations that we both worked on. You are a hard worker, and this is well-deserved. Thank your family as well for allowing you and giving you the time to share that with us and showing us the hard work that you've done. You are a great detective. I know you're going to be even a better sergeant. Keep up the hard work, and hopefully you will continue to enjoy this police work. Thank you.
Hassan, I just wanted to say congratulations. You are definitely deserving of this award. Everything that you put forth in the task force, I am appreciative of everything. Many things that you taught me. We had many hours of work that we spent together that I will cherish forever, and I definitely look forward to seeing you continue to flourish as a member of this department.
Without further ado, please welcome to the stage your 2020 Detective of the Year, Sergeant Hassan Mufti.
And now, Chief Robert J. Conti III will present our next Chief of Police Special Awards.
That big key, he gets a take-home car for a year. That key really don't go to the car, but we're gonna hook him up. Ms. Brenda Richardson is a long-standing resident of the 7th District, and over the years, she has built strong ties to her community and the Metropolitan Police Department. Throughout 2020, she partnered with the Metropolitan Police Academy to provide reverse ride-alongs to our recruits to help with their introductions to residents and neighborhoods they will be serving when they graduate. She is constantly making great strides to work alongside our department, and today we honor her with the Chief of Police Special Award. Unfortunately, Ms. Richardson reason is unable to attend this evening, but I will present her with this award at a later time. Let's give her a round of applause. I would like to present our next Chief of Police Special Award to one of our longtime residents of the Woodley Park neighborhood. Mr. Roger White is a very active member of the community in the 2nd District. His motto is, if there's anybody that has any interest in the neighborhood, I want to keep them in the loop. His support of MPD and valuable input about 2D is why he is so deserving of this award. I'd like to honor Mr. Roger White with the Chief of Police Special Award. Unfortunately, Mr. White is unable to be in attendance with us this evening, but I will present him with his honor at a later time. Let's give him a round of applause.
Presenting our next set of awards, please welcome to the stage the Assistant Chief of the Homeland Security Bureau, Jeffrey Carroll.
Good evening. Our next awardees stand out in their devotion of service to the department in each of their respective elements. The Narcotics and Special Investigations Division Officer of the Year Award will be presented to an officer within MPD's Gun Recovery Unit. This member's consistent dedication and performance in recovering illegal firearms has saved countless lives in the District of Columbia and as such deserves to be commended. Please join me in congratulating Officer Nicholas Damron as the Narcotics and Special Investigations Division Officer of the Year. One more time. Let's give a congratulations to Officer Nicholas Damron if he's here this evening. Okay, we'll move on. The Special Operations Division Officer of the Year Award will be given to an MPD member assigned to SOD's Domestic Security Operations Section. She was a critical part of a team who was always willing to come in on her days off and would put herself first in the front line of any police demonstration or riot during 2020. Her service and work ethic continues to benefit MPD, members, and the members of our community. Congratulations to Officer Tara Tyndall, our Special Operations Division Officer of the Year. In 2020, the Metropolitan Police Department lost Senior Police Officer Keith Williams, whose passing was tragically due to COVID-19 related complications. Officer Williams was a 31-year veteran who was dedicated to making a difference in the DC community. He began his career in the DC government as a custodian with DC Public Schools. Then he started at MPD in 1989 in the 7th District and served in various assignments until his retirement in 2017. He was reappointed as a senior police officer and served as a school resource officer in the 3rd District until his passing. To honor his memory and service, we are renaming our School Resource Officer of the Year Award to now be the Keith Williams School Resource Officer of the Year Award. The SRO receiving this award has consistently gone above and beyond his call of duty by investing his personal time and money to sponsor youth in school sports and attending their games while off duty. His passion for service to DC students has been recognized by students, school staff, and his fellow SROs. This year's Keith Williams School Resource Officer of the Year is Officer Philippe Jerome. The Volunteer Corps Award recognizes a volunteer who has contributed exemplary work during the past year in their selfless service to MPD and the community. Volunteers serve as knowledgeable ambassadors to and of the communities they represent and strengthen the department's community ties. The recipient of this award is a team player who goes above and beyond in their dedication to service by bringing innovative ideas and impactful solutions to the Volunteer Corps program. Please join me in congratulating the recipient of this year's Volunteer Corps Award, Alex Rosenberg. You may have heard this one before, but we're going to try it one more time. The Narcotics and Special Investigation Division Officer of the Year Award will be presented to an officer within MPD's Gun Recovery Unit. Please join me in congratulating Officer Nicholas Damron as the NSID Officer of the Year. A vital part of law enforcement is community policing. The Metropolitan Police Department strives to have our members create strong bonds with each and every community throughout the District of Columbia. This is accomplished through our officers going the extra mile to connect with our community and be partners in public safety. This year, we are presenting an officer with a Community Policing Award, the first of its kind, to highlight the exemplary work our officers do within our vibrant DC community. This year's recipient has built sustained countless meaningful relationships with so many residents across our city. She has the ability to bridge nearly any gap between the police and community and offers herself as a resource and a companion. In 2002, she pioneered and started the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Unit, where she serves to this day and is sought as a resource and ally to DC's vast deaf and hard of hearing community. Please join me in congratulating the first ever recipient of MPD's Community Policing Award, Officer Myra Wheeler-Jordan. The Amin Muslim Professional Staff Manager of the Year Award recognizes an MPD professional staff manager that has contributed significantly to the agency's mission. The recipient of this award goes to a well-deserving employee whose hard work and positive demeanor elevated the Joint Strategic and Tactical Analysis Command Center Division. As the director of the JSTAC Division, she monitored the activation of MPD's Joint Operations Command Center more than 78 times through the countless First Amendment assemblies and riots in 2020, often on short notice, working 18-hour shifts with no days off. Her commitment to the Metropolitan Police Department and willingness to help every member of the team is why she is so deserving of this award today. Please join me in congratulating the Amin Muslim Professional Staff Manager of the Year, Director Carolyn Montagna. Let's give another round of applause to all of our honorable award winners.
Presenting our next set of awards, please welcome to the stage Assistant Chief of the Youth and Family Engagement Bureau, Chanel Dickerson.
Good evening. While we all know that our officers serve in vital roles to keep our department running, they wouldn't be able to do it without their devoted officials. Our next group of awardees demonstrated exemplary leadership throughout the department over the course of 2020. Among those being honored include a diligent sergeant who was called upon to lead a squad of detectives to investigate the criminal cases associated with civil unrest and succeeded in bringing those individuals to justice. A skilled lieutenant who placed himself on the front line of civil unrest and never lost sight of the welfare of his subordinates. A community-oriented captain whose strong work ethic and outstanding performance has demonstrated a model of MPD excellence to the DC community. A focused inspector who managed an overwhelming caseload with ease during the 2020 civil arrest. Do you all notice the common theme during civil unrest? And a valuable commander who led his team in fostering positive relationships within the community across the 7th District. This evening, please join me in congratulating MPD's 2020 Sergeant of the Year, Lieutenant Nicole Copeland. Although he is unfortunately not able to be with us tonight, we would still like to recognize our Lieutenant of the Year, Lieutenant Andrew Horrose. And next, our Captain of the Year, Captain David Augustine. Our Inspector of the Year, Inspector John Newson. John? Going once, going twice? Oh yeah, his wife, yeah. Yeah, John has been called away. So his wife is here to accept his award. Yes, so deserving. Because when John was present with us, he was absent from with his family. And our Commander of the Year goes to none other, Assistant Chief Andre Wright. Congratulations to you all on your well-deserved achievement. And let's give another round of applause for our officials.
Presenting our Professional Staff Bureau Employees of the Year and the Deborah Ennis Professional Staff Employee of the Year Awards, Please welcome to the stage Acting Assistant Chief Michael Colligan of the Professional Development Bureau.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. The group of awards that I'm presenting represents the best of MPD's professional staff. While these members do not patrol our streets like our sworn members, they are critical to all functions and operations of the Metropolitan Police Department. We recognize as a department that not all jobs can be completed by our sworn strength, and we are lucky to have such a devoted professional staff to help us best serve the residents and visitors to the District of Columbia. Our professional staff awardees this evening include a social media aficionado who spearheads creative efforts and focuses her energy on positively promoting the agency, a detail director who helped develop critical contact tracing guidelines to trace hundreds of COVID-19 cases, a valuable pilot who soars above the rest to provide crucial intelligence and real-time information for the Special Operations Division during large-scale events and civil unrest, a technology guru who assisted employees in working from home during the public health emergency and is always looking to advance MPD's technology and equipment, a quick thinker who did not miss a beat to ensure all members of the Internal Affairs Bureau were working efficiently and effectively throughout 2020, a victim specialist who worked closely with other DC government agencies to meet the unique needs of young people who were victims of violence and at risk of becoming suspects in the future. An enthusiastic vehicle maintenance officer who cheered up officers with music before their tours, fired up the grill to cook lunch for his colleagues, and overall boosted the morale of the 5th District. An admirable staff assistant who took great care of her officers while simultaneously leading countless community outreach events. An attentive deputy director who has written multiple grants to provide needed funding for many critical MPD initiatives and hasn't been faced with the task that she can't handle. Please join me in honoring Executive Office of the Chief of Police, Professional Staff Bureau Employee of the Year, Elena Gertz. Corporate Support Bureau Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Abigail Hughes. Homeland Security Bureau Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Jeffrey Hertel. Information Technology Bureau Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Gamela Jenkins. Internal Affairs Bureau Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Bianca Sims. Investigative Services Bureau Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Mark Timberlake. Patrol Services North Professional Staff Bureau Employee of the Year, Johnny Dyer. Patrol Services South Professional Staff Bureau Employee of the Year, Kiana Ballantyne. And Professional Development Bureau Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Jessica Bress. Thank you to all of our professional staff members for your service to the city. Let's give these members another round of applause. The Deborah Ennis Professional Staff Employee of the Year Award is presented to a professional staff member who has demonstrated a dedicated commitment to their duties at the Metropolitan Police Department. This year, I'm honored to recognize a member who served MPD for 29 consecutive years until her retirement in 2021. Known as Miss G by her colleagues, this member has spent the past 20 years with the Internal Affairs Division administrative team, training countless staff members, mentoring her colleagues, and managing nearly all duties of the clerical office. Tonight, we are honoring and recognizing the Deborah Ennis Professional Staff Employee of the Year, Ms. Yvonne Gibson. Unfortunately, Ms. Gibson could not join us here tonight, but we are proud to recognize her work and service.
Please now welcome back to the podium Chief Robert J. Conti III to present our next Chief of Police Special Award.
Robert Bornstein currently serves as the acting special agent in charge of the FBI Washington Field Office Criminal Division. Actually, he was in 2020. He has been a strong partner with MPD to combat some of the most serious crimes in the district, whether it be offering increased amounts of federal money for tips in cases that were particularly difficult to close, or embedding agents within our MPD units. The dedication and partnership of Special Agent Bornstein continues to improve the safety of the city every day. I would like to welcome our final Chief of Police Special Award recipient to the stage, Special Agent Robert Bornstein.
At this time, there will be a 15-minute intermission from the ceremony. Please continue to enjoy your meals and each other's company. Thank you.
Look, I know it said 15 minutes, but I'm going to take some executive privilege here. We're going to cut that down to about 10 because I want to get y'all out of here on time. And I promise you, you don't want to miss the second half, especially the January 6th dedication. So if we can take 10 minutes, everybody back in the room, we'll get started with the second half. Thank you.
Volunteerism is a core American value, and Americans take great pride in helping their neighbors. This does not go unnoticed. In the 19th century, Alexis de Tocqueville remarked in Democracy in America that if an accident happens on the highway, everybody hastens to help the sufferer, a dichotomy in his mind between Europe at the time and the still relatively new United States. Another observer once noted the spirit of volunteerism in America when he said, "When a neighbor's house is on fire, in America, everyone picks up a bucket." The spirit of mutual aid in policing specifically was echoed by another European around the same time, when Robert Peel wrote in his Principles of Law Enforcement that the police are the public and the public are the police. These statements are embodied by the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department Reserve Corps as they don their MPD uniforms and equipment to support their career colleagues in providing excellent police services to the residents and visitors of the District of Columbia. And now, please welcome to the stage the Chief of Staff of the Metropolitan Police Department, Mr. Ben Heyman, to present the Joseph Pozell Reserve Officer of the Year Award.
Good evening. Before I present this award, I want to just take a brief moment to recognize on our 70th anniversary all the men and women of the Reserve Corps that are here tonight. Can our Reserve Corps members please stand to be recognized? Each year, the Joseph Pozell Reserve Officer of the Year Award is presented to a member of MPD's Reserve Corps whose leadership and exemplary police work demonstrate the best the Reserve Corps has to offer. Our Reserve Officer honoree this year has made significant strides to improve our Reserve Corps program. As a team leader for our Reserve Corps in the 4th District, he has made improvements to the functions, vehicles, training, and the certification process for his officers. He serves as a mentor for new reserve officers and guides them towards becoming certified, and is well known by his career colleagues to drop what he's doing and to come into 4D when his district is short on officers. He has received commendations for his leadership and his exemplary police work. I cannot think of a reserve officer who's more deserving of this award. It is my pleasure to present the 2020 Joseph Pozell Reserve Officer of the Year Award to Reserve Officer Eric Regensburg. Eric.
Presenting our next set of awards, please welcome to the stage Assistant Chief Morgan Kane of our Technical and Analytical Services Bureau.
See if I need these, Chief. Let me check. Good evening, everyone. Chief, to your point, this is a lovely sight to be able to look out over our attendees tonight. MPD is lucky to have some of the best officers in the world, but today's award recipients stand out as top performers in their district. Commanders and their teams were asked to identify an officer in each district whose efforts stood out this past year. These individuals are at the front lines of policing, responsible for developing community partnerships and having a lasting impact on crime. Those being awarded this year include a talented 1D officer who shares his experience and knowledge with probationary officers and is highly trusted by his supervisors. We have a devoted 2D officer who spends an extensive amount of time and immense efforts in connecting individuals experiencing homelessness to resources. We have a detail-oriented 3D crime suppression team officer with a wealth of experience and numerous weapon recoveries under his belt. A valued 4D veteran who uses his outgoing personality and his dedication to service to interact with every resident that crosses his path. A knowledgeable 5D officer who never hesitates to help his team during critical incidents. A steadfast 6D officer whose heroic actions after sustaining a gunshot wound allowed for his fellow officers to apprehend the suspect responsible. And we have a community-oriented 7D officer whose presence in the 7th District is something that residents can always count on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your District Officers of the Year. For the 1st District, we have 1st District Officer Patrick Donlin. The 2nd District Officer is Jasma Stoutemire. Third District Officer Kwamina Yarney. Fourth District Officer Lee Sheffman. You gotta get that together. Go ahead, button it up, sir. Button it up, button it up, button it up. We don't talk about that, Randy. 5th District Officer Justin Wood. Sixth District Officer Jeremy Jones. And we have 7th District Officer Jonika Laney. To our Patrol District Officers of the Years, thank you all for your bravery and your service and for keeping our streets safe during such a tumultuous year. Let's have another round of applause for our officers.
Please welcome back to the stage Executive Assistant Chief Ashan Benedict, who will be presenting our Officer of the Year.
I'm honored to present the award to our 2020 Officer of the Year recipient. The Metropolitan Police Department has thousands of officers who make us proud every day, but this officer has been selected for his noteworthy achievements throughout 2020. The recipient of this award has been a member of MPD for 6 years and is currently assigned to the 3rd District. He has received commendations ranging from acts of kindness and heroism, such as taking his time to provide shoes to a homeless individual, to outstanding arrests for violent crimes and multiple illegal firearms recoveries. In one instance, this officer swiftly responded to a gunshot wound victim and saved their life by applying a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. It is not easy being a police officer. When I see members like our Officer of the Year recipient, I know that our community is in good hands. Now let's direct our attention to the screen to learn more about this year's award recipient.
Hi, my name is Officer Larry from the 3rd District. I'm from Washington, D.C., grew up in Southeast of Buena Vista Terrace. I kind of always wanted to be the police. I went to college for criminal justice. I mean, it's not too much you can do with that degree but be a police or some kind of probationary officer. So I applied to a whole lot of agencies here in this area. MPD called back first, so here I am 6 years later. So what policing means to me is not about how many people you can lock up, but how many people you can make an impact on their life. Be something positive towards them, show them, I'm from Southeast, here I am today, I'm doing pretty good that you can make it out of where you're from.
Boy, I can say a lot here. Officer Lowry, one of my best officers. He's one of my day work tour officers. He's, if I could say, my one-man crime suppression team, my one-man burglary team. He's very good with the community. I know he knows his beat and the folks in it very well. Anytime we need a task completed, he's the go-to man.
I just can't say enough about what he brings to not only the 3rd District, but the police department. So he makes our job that much easier, especially when we're speaking to community members and then wondering about, the different incidents that have happened in the community. We can tell them, oh, that's been closed by an arrest. And then I mentioned Lowry. So I've done it on a number of occasions. So, and also Lowry is a person you can look to say, that's an example of what a police officer should be.
Officer Lowry, I think, exemplifies the motto of excellence is transferable, because Officer Lowry is out there every day trying to teach his colleagues, trying to work with his partners out there every day to emulate him, to do what he does, and to have that dedication in the community and that smile on your face while you're doing it. I think that is exactly what we want here at MPD, and that is exactly what we're looking for in our future and our Legion of Leaders here at MPD.
I've been Officer of the Month twice. I have got several good write-ups for the year of 2020. And also, I had another write-up where I gave, I saw a homeless guy walking around with no shoes on his feet, and it was winter. So I stopped and went to my trunk, gave him a pair of shoes that I had in my trunk.
I think Officer Lowry has a fantastic future here with the Metropolitan Police Department. He's got the great attitude being out on the street when he's working with his colleagues, working with the community. He understands that it's more than just locking people up. He understands that building that positive police-community relationship is critical to our success in the community, and he understands that. And every day he goes out there, he does that. He's that kind of officer who he wants to be busy out there, he wants to make a difference in our community, and I think he does a great job of it, and he does it with a smile, which makes it even better.
Winning Officer of the Year means a lot. It shows that my supervisor and my co-workers actually see that I'm out here working hard. I've been told that I should have won it prior years, but I mean, it is what it is. Here I am 2020, Officer of the Year, so I'm happy.
Hey Lowry, congratulations, man. You're more than deserving of this award, and we'll be looking forward to you coming back to 3D and continue to do what you do every day. Thank you, man.
Officer Lowry, congratulations. Officer of the Year, I'm very proud of you. You're more than deserving of this award. I know your 3rd District family and team members sharing this award. Again, I'm very proud. Great work, and glad you are with us.
Officer Lowry, congratulations on winning the 2020 Officer of the Year award. You're nominated by so many of your colleagues and supervisors that this must have been one of the easiest decisions for us. You've done a great job in 2020, the years before it, and I know you're going to continue to do such a great job. So thank you and congratulations.
At this time, please join me in congratulating and welcome to the stage the Metropolitan Police Department's 2020 Officer of the Year, Officer Tyrone Lowry.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give each of our 2020 annual awardees one more round of applause. And now, please turn your attention to the screens for a video presentation. The Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. saved the Capitol. MPD saved the Capitol. When the call for help went out, help came. It came from MPD initially, and then from neighboring jurisdictions: Montgomery County, Maryland State Police, Arlington, Alexandria, Prince George's County, Virginia State Police. Prize for the longest response goes to New Jersey State Police. Certainly, the thought of hundreds of New Jersey State troopers in flat tops flying down I-95 gave us great comfort. They came in police cars and on bikes. MPD assembled its CDU, Civil Disturbance Units, and heeded the call. A moment that will go down in MPD history when a lieutenant in charge of CDU 25 from the 2nd District came over the radio with,
CDU 25, be advised we're coming in hot on a Metro bus with a full platoon of officers. Advise where you need us.
Multiple Metro buses were commandeered, and one can only imagine the grin on those Metro bus drivers' faces as they took these cops as close as they could to the Capitol. Day shift was held over, as much of the evening units were sent downtown. When they arrived, they put in work, battling inside and around the Capitol and retaking it. MPD ran out of all of its non-lethal rounds, pepper balls, and OC spray, having to refill multiple times. The funny thing about events like this is that while this pitched battle is going on, people are still calling 911 for noise complaints, or that guy in the alley. People are still getting robbed or reporting cars stolen. On January 6th, MPD not only returned the Capitol to order, but continued to serve the residents of our nation's capital. On January 6th, 2021, at 12:58 p.m., Capitol Police requested MPD officers respond to assist with a mob of people on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol building. Commander Glover raised CDU 54 and CDU 64 and instructed them to respond to the west front of the Capitol. On their way, Capitol Police advised MPD that a group had already breached some Capitol lines of defense and was attempting to gain entry into the Capitol building.
Cruiser 5 to 50, be advised, Capitol Police 1 advised they're trying to breach and get into the Capitol.
MPD's first 2 CDU platoons arrived on scene, and at 1:12 p.m., the first call came out.
Cruiser 50, I copy. MPD, OC deployed. MPD, OC deployed. Capitol ground.
CDUs 54 and 64 were assaulted by bottles, bike racks, and bricks.
Multiple Capitol entries. Multiple Capitol entries.
They valiantly stood their ground and held the line.
They're throwing metal poles at us. Cruiser 50, give me CDU 12. They're throwing bottles, bike racks, and bricks at the Capitol. CDU 12 up to help maintain the lines. They're throwing bike racks. They're throwing bike racks.
As the crowd's assaultive behavior grew, CDU 12, who was staged just blocks away, heard what their fellow officers were up against, strapped on their hard gear, and marched through the crowd to the Capitol's west front to strengthen MPD's line of defense. These officers were face to face with members of the crowd who sprayed bear spray in their eyes and launched fireworks toward their faces.
Cruiser 50, the crowd is using munitions against us. They have bear spray in the crowd. Bear spray in the crowd, to include bottles and rocks and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks.
CDU 42, who was staged along Constitution Avenue, heard the situation escalating over the radio and began to don their hard gear in the middle of the street. When the call came, CDU 42 answered and joined in the battle for the West Front. Criminal Investigations Division and Narcotics and Special Investigations Division battled alongside CDU platoons in a battle for inches on the steps of the Capitol. MPD officers held strong, and at 1:49 p.m., a riot was declared at the United States Capitol building.
We're going to give riot warnings as soon as the apparatus is here. We're going to give riot warnings. We're going to try to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
50, we have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol to the upper level!
These words stunned the world. But to the officer, it was a call to respond and do what had to be done to restore order. CDU 14 was the next to be called, followed by CDUs 51 and 71. By now, the west front of the United States Capitol building resembled a medieval battle, and at 2:29 p.m., a 1033 was declared at the United States Capitol building. A 1033 is the radio code for an officer in distress, where that officer is in immediate danger of physical harm, and that they need backup immediately. When an officer hears 1033, no matter what they're doing, they immediately stop what they are doing, flip on their lights and sirens, and go.
There's a 50 hit break! 1033! I repeat, 1033 west front of the Capitol! We have been pranked and we've lost the line!
To hear a 1033 at the United States Capitol building, while hundreds of officers are already on scene, being called by one of MPD's top officials, shines an unfortunate spotlight on the barbaric, heartless violence that our officers were up against. Police are unique. They run towards the danger. They are driven to protect others and to back up their coworkers no matter what. And it was that led officers from all over the city to race to the Capitol to provide support. By the time CDU 23 had arrived, the Capitol had been breached and rioters were inside the building. MPD officers inside of the Capitol were first tasked with providing a wall of security, while officers from other agencies performed first aid on a shooting victim. It quickly became apparent that parts of the building were overrun with rioters, and MPD officers did not hesitate to do what was necessary to clear the building. CDU 61 also flew across the city after hearing the 1033 and split up between battling rioters inside of the building and reinforcing the police line that was being assaulted on the steps leading to the Capitol Terrace. They were joined by CDU 31, who marched through the western front toward the terrace, and CDU 74, who fought against a mob continuously attempting to breach their way into the Capitol. CDUs 23 and 51 bravely made entry into the Capitol and requested that additional resources respond from outside to inside to assist with clearing the building. MPD platoons went room by room through the Capitol building, clearing out rioters. They soon after found themselves in a hallway where to their front was a violent crowd, and to their rear was the U.S. Senate chambers.
Chief, I need to make sure the Senate doors, they have resources on the Senate doors. We need to prevent the breach. Once we push, I can't get flanked. I need to make sure they can hold the Senate doors on the upper terrace.
Rioters also found themselves inside the rotunda of the Capitol. Since 1824, the Capitol Rotunda, an architectural masterpiece, has been home to historical paintings and sculptures of our nation's founders and leaders. It has also been held as a hallowed ground where the remains of our nation's most eminent citizens can lay in state or in honor before they are laid to rest. To have a violent mob congregate here should shock the conscience of our nation, and MPD officers realized that it was imperative to clear this sacred area. The mob in the rotunda was so violent and assaultive that another 1033 was declared over the radio, with officers from CDUs 54, 74, 51, SOD, DSO, and numerous other platoons racing to restore honor to our nation. Despite every CDU platoon that was activated for that day, MPD was outnumbered. Each district was tasked with creating a 5th CDU platoon to send down to the Capitol, but there wasn't enough vehicles to transport these officers.
CDU 25, be advised we're coming in hot on a Metro bus with a full platoon of officers. Advise where you need us.
There was no stopping MPD. CDU 16 was the first of these emergency platoons to arrive, and they were directed to the west front of the Capitol, where officers were still bravely battling to keep rioters away from the building. The upper terrace and inaugural platform were being overtaken by the group, and MPD held strong in our defense. In one case, an officer was being dragged into the riotous crowd. While CDUs 65 and 76 are making their way over from across the city, and CDU 43 is staying in the fight, CDU 62 is sent to the west front, where, as the building is cleared, the crowd must be pushed back off of the grass and onto the street. However, the crowd is not letting up, and the West Terrace of the Capitol again begins to resemble a medieval battle, as rioters who were kicked out were attempting to regain entry. Since that day, this has been referred to as the Tunnel of Doom. CDUs 12, 32, and 63, along with countless other members, held this line valiantly. While the crowd continued to assault them, swinging bats, wooden planks, and metal pipes, officers noticed that a member of the crowd was having a medical emergency, and they immediately transitioned from warriors to guardians. They pulled the woman behind the police line and performed CPR until medical personnel arrived. It is a scene of compassion that while platoons like CDU 34 are having rocks and bottles thrown at their heads, officers are also giving their all to attempt to save the life of a member of the crowd. When CDU 65 made its arrival, they walked through the Capitol's underground tunnel toward the Senate chambers, where they worked with various other agencies in running up and down stairs to perform emergency evacuations for Senate employees who were trapped on the top floor of the Capitol. Meanwhile, CDU 76 paired up with Capitol Police and provided security on the perimeter. CDU 33, along the eastern front of the Capitol, is severely divided and is struggling to maintain their police line as rioters continue to try and break past them. But they demonstrate devotion and heart and continue their fight while backup comes to assist them. As CDU 35 arrives, they are sent to the east front of the Capitol to push back rioters who are being removed from the building and forced away from the terrace. As CDU 35 pushes back, they are reinforced by CDU 55, fresh off another Metro bus, who formed a line to keep the crowd back. This line was reinforced by CDUs 53, 52, 32, 62, and 72, all marching across Constitution Avenue, while CDU 45 formed a line on First Street, clearing the streets of any rioters remaining. Supporting the effort to push these rioters back, CDU 73 maintained the south flank of the line.
Cruiser 50, everyone's doing a good job. Don't lose the momentum. Do not lose the momentum of the line. Keep pushing to the west. Line formation, keep pushing to the west. Line formation, keep pushing to the west. All right, Cruiser 50, 32, 52, 55. Keep pushing west. Keep pushing west. Keep pushing west.
As the evening turned into night, MPD maintained its security around the Capitol, with CDUs 24, 41, and 11, amongst others, continuing to keep the crowd away and ensure the safety of the Capitol building. Late that night, while officers ended an 18-plus hour day, and others just began the midnight shift to provide security, one thing was certain: MPD had won the day. At 12:58 p.m., MPD was called to assist. By 8 p.m., Congress had returned to session.
I'm going to say it while we have applause on the radio. Everyone did an excellent job today. Thank you. Represented yourselves and MPD in the city well. Thank you.
Many officers don't realize the enormity of what they did, and it's a testament to their nature that they haven't. The entire department was activated, no days off, vacation canceled. And it was like that until the end of the month because, don't forget, there was still an inauguration to be had. MPD won that day. I always thought the MPD badge was a little simple. It has only had a building on it, and that building isn't even in MPD's jurisdiction. That building is the U.S. Capitol.
There's a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's If you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away, and then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. It's a long road when you face the world alone. No one reaches out a hand for you to hold. You can find love if you search within yourself, and that emptiness you felt will disappear. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. Oh, and long, dreams are hard to follow, but don't let anyone tear them away. And hold on, there will be tomorrow. In time, you'll find the way. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in
Thank you, Officer Laurie, for that beautiful rendition of Hero. To our heroes of January 6th, every one of you had a different role to play on that day. Some were engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Some held perimeters and security details. Others ensured responding law enforcement partners knew where to go and how to get there. On that day, you were all met with a nightmare and a seemingly tactical impossibility of being outnumbered in a building totally foreign to you. You all wore the MPD patch proudly as you answered the call that many would run away from. You responded to unknown danger, and for your efforts on that day, a grateful nation says, thank you. At this time, would all our members, sworn and professional staff, and outside agency partners who supported the law enforcement response to the insurrection at the Capitol, please rise when you hear your unit called. As the units are read, the Planning Committee will distribute boxes to those members. CDU 11, CDU 12, CDU 14, CDU 16, CDU 23, CDU 24, CDU 25, CDU 31, CDU 32, CDU 33, CDU 34, CDU 35, CDU 41, CDU 42, CDU 43, CDU 45, CDU 51, CDU 52, CDU 53, CDU 54, CDU 55, CDU 61, CDU 62, CDU 63, CDU 64, CDU 65, CDU 71, CDU 72, CDU 73, CDU 74, CDU 76. Office of Communications, Internal Affairs Bureau, Executive Protection Unit, Inauguration Planning Committee, Executive Office of the Chief of Police, Patrol Services South, Crime Suppression Teams, Gun Recovery Unit, Narcotics Enforcement Unit, Homicide Branch, Riot Task Force, Electronic Surveillance Unit, Criminal Investigations Division, Narcotics and Special Investigations Division, Investigative Services Bureau, School Safety Division, Harbor Patrol, SOD Motors, SOD Special Events, Domestic Security Office, Emergency Response Team, Investigative Support Section, Major Crash Squad, Joint Strategic and Tactical Analysis Command Center, Intelligence Division, Homeland Security Bureau, Outside Agency Liaisons, all officers who self-dispatched to the scene, outside agency partners, and all other Ribbon of Valor recipients, please stand. Let us give these members a round of applause.
Hey, Ron Burgesson, bring me one of those boxes.
You may now be seated once you have received your box. Each Medal of Valor recipient has received a box. Please go ahead and open that box now. Each box contains a golden challenge coin in the shape of a key. Before it is formed, a blank key is a straight, flush piece of metal. But as the key is engraved, it gains many divots, hills, valleys, and points. These minute characteristics make each key unique and allow that key to open only one lock. And for the entire lifetime of that key, nothing about it or the lock it opens changes. At its heart, a key is an opener of locks. Whether it's a door, a treasure chest, or the metaphorical heart, keys let us into unknown worlds. Keys symbolize freedom. They open things up and lock precious things away. They reveal the unknown. When MPD's first 2 CDU platoons arrived on the west front of the Capitol on January 6th, they had before them a blank key ready to be engraved. What was engraved onto that key, as it is engraved into the hearts and memories of all our fellow countrymen, was that through valiant patriotism, toil, sweat, and tears, democracy prevailed. Freedom prevailed. May this small token be a reminder of your efforts. Presented to each of you on this Monday, October 18th, 2021, is the Metropolitan Police Department's January 6th, 2021 Challenge Coin Key. At this time, please welcome back to the stage Chief Robert Conti III for tonight's closing remarks.
I am so incredibly proud of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you. You have displayed excellence tonight, and I am overwhelmed with emotions and reflection of all that has transpired over 2020, but specifically on January the 6th. While the Metropolitan Police Department was one of the primary agencies that responded, I would be remiss if I did not give a special shout out to our surrounding jurisdiction agency partners that also heeded the call and responded to support the Metropolitan Police Department. Arlington County, Fairfax County, Prince William County, Virginia State Police, Maryland State Police, Metro Transit Police, Prince George's County Police, and the Montgomery County Police Department. Let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. This has been an incredible night, and again, I am just so incredibly proud. I want to acknowledge a special acknowledgement to our planning committee. These things don't just come together all by themselves. So for the members of the planning committee, specifically from our strategic engagement office, our office of communications, our human resources office, all those who had a hand in planning tonight's event, please stand and be recognized. Special acknowledgement to Katie Tedrow. Where are you, Katie? You around here somewhere, Katie? I don't know. She's around here somewhere. But Katie is responsible for the decorations and for just really kind of helping to make sure that everything came together the way that we envisioned it. Hey, Katie, I see you. Thank you, Katie. And I really don't think there's anything else to be said. We have come, we have eaten, we have enjoyed each other's company for the night, and we're going to bring Monsignor Sal back. Is he still here? There he is. My favorite Monsignor. We're going to bring him back to close us out for tonight.
Before I do the benediction, I'd like to once also reiterate what the chief has said. I have been blessed and fortunate enough to be MPD's chaplain for 36 years. And in that time, I've been on the streets many times. Oklahoma City bombing, MPD was called to get on the streets. 9/11, we were on the streets. Navy Yard shooting and all the other incidences, the Black Lives Matter rallies on the streets. And I've always been so proud to be your chaplain. I've always been so proud of the way you act and react under the most difficult circumstances. So tonight, it's truly a privilege and an honor for me to be with all of you, all the honorees, the family members, and the leaders of our department. Thank you as a citizen for all you do for this great city. Let us now bow our heads in prayer. God our Father, as we conclude this wonderful evening, we once again give thanks for those who we've honored this evening. We give thanks for their call, their commitment, and their dedication to our city, to our country, to our visitors, our workers, and our residents. Lord, we ask that you continue to guide them and watch them, for you have called them to this honorable vocation. Continue to keep them safe. We also pray tonight for all the members who are on the streets working, that they return home safely to their loved ones. And we remember and give thanks and never forget those men and women who have lost their lives in the line of duty. We truly pray, Lord, that they're with you at true peace. We make this prayer tonight once again as your loyal and faithful servants. And as we all say, amen.
That will officially conclude tonight's ceremony. Please continue to be safe, and please continue to be well. We aren't saying you have to go home, but you can't stay here.